In today's video, I'm going to be upgrading to some big boy brakes on my ERIDE Pro SS, and that's the Lewis Tech EP-6 6-piston caliper brakes. I got rotors, I got the full brake kit, I got a stock Surron bracket. I'll talk more about that later, and I'm also going to change back to a 48-2 sprocket. Now, check out these brake pads. These are nice. Copper backing, and you can see that they really put a lot of effort into the thermal dissipation and the contact surface area. I mean, check out those pads. Those are nice. And let's look at the calipers. You can see, I mean, they have a real focus on solving thermal decay issues. These things are definitely built for heat dissipation. They got these big heat sinks, finned. Again, the 6-piston calipers. And the brake lines are really easy to change on these. I was checking out their videos on how to do it. And you can see like this front rotor. This is the 2.3 millimeter thick front rotor. Solid stainless 420 design. Now I went with this because these V4 floating type rotors I think are not good for heavy e-bikes. These carrier rivets will become loose and start to vibrate and make a lot of noise, and I've noticed it happen very quickly with many different rotors, so I decided to go with a solid type design this time. Now here's the rear brake, which is the 3 millimeter thick stainless 420, same type of design. They're 220 millimeter rotors, so they got a lot of stopping power, and they got these really nice chamfered edges. So here are the levers, and they're bidirectional, so this one can work on the left or the right, which is really nice. They have these gigantic reservoirs, and again, they're super easy to bleed. Nice 1 or 2 finger lever. Now, Lewis Tech is a Chinese company that had some controversy when they first came on the scene, and they're relatively new. They were accused of copying trick stuff. The products do look very similar, but I'm gonna keep an open mind about these because this EP-6 product looks like they really tried to innovate and make a good product that solves a lot of the issues for these heavier e-bikes. Now, I have been the victim in the past on some of my overclocking products of companies copying me from China. So I might be a little bit biased about that issue, and I will try to remain neutral and just judge this product based on the merits. So the plan is to get these wheels off. I'm gonna take these rotors off, put the new rotors on. I'm gonna put this 48 tooth tusk sprocket on the rear wheel, run the chain again, get the wheels back on. Then we can mount the levers, run the lines, get the calipers on, get everything aligned and mounted. Then we can go out and see how good these brakes really are. Now I have all the bolts snugged up, and now I'm going to torque them to around 10 to 12 Nm. Now with this rotor and spacer installed, I can get this wheel back on the bike, but first I need to remove the front caliper and lever. Now I can put the front wheel on. Now just leave that hand tight for now. Check out this system for the brake pads. They really focus on heat dissipation on those pads. Look at those. It's like these big ass plates, man. So you see the brake pads contact with this huge heatsink on the back where the copper plate is, so they can really dissipate the heat on these brakes. And make sure you use the pads marked 2.3 millimeter if you're going to use the 2.3 millimeter rotor. And this is the one that's going on the front. Now I have the new brake line over here on the bench, and I have this end on the vise so it can hold it nice and secure so I don't get oil everywhere when I cut it. Now this brake line was around 165 cm out of the box, but I need to remove about 50 cm so it can fit on the front of that ERIDE Pro. So I'm gonna cut it right here. Then I'm gonna remove these fittings on the lever, the anti-leak O-ring, the barb, and the olive, and we're gonna refit it here to the lever. And I made this little fixture here with all this blue paper towel so it can hold this lever up, because this reservoir is huge and I don't want to have oil everywhere on the bench. And I'm going to take this tool and just cut this right here, and then the vise can hold this in position, and then I can remove this hose. As always, use glove protection because brake oil is nasty. And I know these have DOT 5.1 in them from the factory. I put the stainless steel fitting back on and also the olive. And now it's time to put this barb into the end of the hose. Make sure that the hose has a nice flat cut on it before you do this. Keep going. And there's my 50 cm shorter brake. Now I can put it on the bike. Now, like I said earlier, with the 220mm rotor, these have a built-in 20mm offset already in the caliper. So it just fits. So I can bring it around this way. And I'll run it up through here. Man, that's a perfect one-finger brake. For real. All I need to do is set this reach of the lever. So I'm gonna bring it out maybe to about here. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Now I can center the caliper over the rotor by grabbing the brake and keeping pressure on it and tightening up these mounting bolts. And that should give me a nice centered caliper over the rotor. Nice. So the front came out perfect. The lever's mounted. I adjusted the bite and reach. This thing feels really nice. Everything's lined up. I can one finger the brake now, perfect alignment. But I have one issue. So you see here where the reservoir, it has such a big reservoir that I'm actually not able to angle the lever down a little bit like how I normally like to have these, because the reservoir is hitting the bar. I'm not really sure how to get around that. As you can see over here, like on the Surron, you see how I have the levers more angled down on all the bikes? That's just kind of how I like them, because when you pop the wheelie, the lever will be more straight. But like that, the lever will be back here. So I don't know, man. So far, I absolutely love the brakes, but that part bums me out. So let's get this rear off. I'll take the axle out, take the caliper off, drop the wheel, and then I can get the sprocket and the rotor off. All right, now I just need to break these bolts. Not as bad as the first time, remember? From the ERIDE Pro factory. All right, now I can get it off. So I'm gonna change to this 48 tooth Tusk aluminum sprocket. Once you really power it up, you wanna see some better top speed out of it. So I think the 48 tooth sprocket's gonna be the way to go. If the starting torque isn't enough, I can always change it back. Now I'm going to torque them with about 25 Nm. All right, let's throw the rotor on. Both 220. Now let's torque these down to about 12 Nm. I usually use about 12 to 15 Nm. All right, now I have to remove this rear stock ERIDE Pro brake. We can check that bracket, man, to see if it'll fit. You actually need to use a stock Surron rear rotor bracket. The reason why is because those Lewis brakes have a +20 offset already in them. And the ERIDE Pro actually comes with a taller brake bracket. This one is taller than the stock Surron one. You see? You see the difference in height? Because the ERIDE Pro bracket is set up for a 220 rotor, so they raise it up. So you actually can't use these Lewis Tech brakes if you use the stock ERIDE Pro rear rotor bracket. That's really important. I saw this right at the beginning, so I found a used Surron rear bracket, and I can just throw this one on. And now this one with the +20 on the Lewis caliper can make it fit perfect with the 220 Lewis rotor.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course. It's the same. It's actually the same bracket if you look at it. Now I have to remove the left side of this EBMX X9000 controller plate because I need to get to the brake line right here. Now to remove the rear brake on this ERIDE Pro or Surron and to leave the fitting on, you'd need to remove the battery tray and maybe this back plate for the battery compartment, but I'll probably never use this brake again. So I'm actually gonna just cut it right in front of the caliper. That way I can just pull it through really easy. And I have the fittings to rebuild it anyways if I ever wanna use it. So I'll just cut it there. This line is a bit long even for the rear brake. I'm gonna need to remove maybe about that much. I'm just gonna cut the line right there. Set those fittings aside. And then I think we can just push this right through the bike, no problem. Ah, there it is. There's like a thing that protects it from hitting the belt, so it kind of has to go in there. All right, I'll leave this here for now. And we'll run this up. So I have the line run through the frame and I have it taped to the handlebar right now. But I think now is a good time to fit this rear wheel just to make sure that everything lines up. And I need to make sure that this stock Surron rotor idea that I have can actually work. I eyeballed it and it kind of looks like it's gonna fit, but I really need to put it on there to make sure that the full contact surface area of the pads is right on the edge of the rotor. So let's put the wheel on and make sure that everything can line up here. So far so good. Everything looks like it lines up really nice. There's no obstructions or rubbing. And we can check to make sure that the caliper can fit on and be centered and not rub. I have a little bit of adjustment there, but it looks like, oh yeah, everything lines up perfectly. Wow. It worked, man. But, you know, I did need to do some filing on the inside of the stock Surron bracket to clear these rotor bolts. Maybe ERIDE Pro uses a thicker one so they mill out a little bit more on their bracket. Everything is completely lined up and straight. There's no rubbing. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. So I just need to bolt this caliper down, torque it, attach a few brake clips, then I'll run the line up here. I can reattach this EBMX side plate, and then I'll know exactly how much line I need to cut off before I attach the lever. I think that's as far as it can go. You see it hits. So now I'll just adjust the reach of the lever. Oh, that feels awesome. Wow. Wow. These feel incredible, dude. Really, this is a great one finger brake. We're good. Now all I have to do is put this new chain on that is more suited for the 48-2 sprocket. It's a little bit shorter than the one that was on there. And let's just get this on. Put the master link on. Now I just need to tension the chain and then tighten the axle and it's done. Man, this place is absolutely wrecked after this build. I'm gonna be cleaning up all night. But the bike came out great. I think these Lewis Tech brakes are promising. They feel perfect. I mean, this is exactly how I want the brake to feel. Need to go out and test it though. And unfortunately, the weather still sucks in Taiwan. It's been bad for about 2 or 3 weeks. It's really cold and rainy. So we'll get this thing out next week. Also get this one out from last week. There is some good weather coming in next week, so for sure we're gonna get this out and test it. And I have some other goodies for it. I have a Chai battery, 400 amp plus Titan. And I also have a new big display from EBMX, so I can finally get rid of this little egg rider. So I'm pretty happy about that. Maybe finally I found the ultimate E-moto brake. So see you guys in the next one. Peace.